and God, it was a special gift to me. But we worked together for quite some time, and he would prompt me, he would help me with things, and I cannot tell you what a privilege.
Thank you, Anne. Someone else, one of his clergy brothers, I see several of you here.
Thank you. I'm Wayne Paul's brother. One of the words that was used in the video, or the visual setup, was to describe Paul as an artist, and I'd like to emphasize that, because whenever Paul went into a new church, he had two challenges. One is the spiritual rejuvenation of that church, and the other was the physical rejuvenation of the church. All the churches he served, you'll find some samples of his artistry in it. He was a wonderful wood carver and could take various kinds of woods and put them together and make beautiful things of them. I always was envious of him in that regard. The first one he ever did was to make a beautiful lamp for my mother when he was in high school, and I believe that's still in the family now. But that was very impressive to me when my big brother came home with that beautiful lamp as a gift for my mother. And so I cherish his artistic qualities, and I know that many people enjoy them. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I have a beautiful bowl that Paul made in my office, and also the wonderful inscription, Wesley's adage to save all you can and give all you can. That is there as well from Paul Hunsberger. Anyone else before we move on? Thank you. Please tell us who you are.
I'm Terry Pondon, and my wife Mary is Paul's niece. And I first met Paul and Helen in February of 1977. Mary and I had been engaged, and we were trying to, she was taking me around to meet different members of the family, of her family. And we were at the same time trying to figure out what we were going to do as far as the wedding, set the date and everything. And so we went over to Port Townsend and met Paul and Helen, and talking about the wedding and stuff. Mary's parents were here from Spokane, and Paul suggested this park, Chetzemoka Park, that overlooks the Straits of San Juan de Fuca on this bluff, and a city park. And so we walked over there, and it was a cold winter, rainy, bleak day, but I really liked how it sat on top of the bluff. And Paul talked about how it looks in June when everything is in bloom and the sun is out and everything. And so we decided that was the right thing to do, to have the wedding out there. Mary's mother wasn't so sure because it was bleak and cold winter. But you know, it was Paul's suggestion, and it was a very memorable day. It was sunny, everything was in bloom. It was just marvelous, marvelous outdoor wedding. And there's descriptions of Paul today, his artistic sense, his you know, his whole sense of mission and evangelicalism. The one word that Mary, and once again, my wife Mary is very sad she can't be here. She's ill. The word that she very often uses when she talks about Paul is brilliant. You talk about the many different facets of his talents combined as a package. He was absolutely brilliant, and combined with the humility, is a very unique individual. And Paul and Helen as a couple really provide all of us with a model that is just has immeasurable value. So Helen, thank you for the gift of your coupleness, and I'm going to miss Paul.
Thank you.
Bob?
Oh, can I go up?
Okay. Come on up.
What I remember most about Papa Paul is a lot of things, but he loved Christmas, so this is just a fitting time for him that it's happening now. some of the things I remember most from Christmas time, that this probably was his favorite time of year, probably all the cousins remember this, is the nativity pictures we all did. I think everyone almost was in one at one point. Mikey made fun of me for being Mary one year. Alan was a baby, Jesus one year. That was something he always did, and I think my children's children will see. His creativity and his sense of God was most envisioned in that for that time of year. When he took us down to the basement and we had that whiteboard every year, he'd have us draw what Christmas meant. Really had us kind of reflecting on things at a really young age, really having us have a lot of discussions about what that meant for this time of year, and really instilling us with that sense of the season. He would always, again, working with wood, from starting fires in the basements for the family to be together, for Grandma to have the organ, to the woodworking gifts he'd give each of us at a milestone in life, to when we do cookie bakes at this time of year, and how many he would try and get to and how many Grandma would actually let him have. But he loved when we have those 3-day cookie bakes, the female cousins and us all cooking. Growing up, I was really blessed to see a side of Papa Paul in a different way, I think, because I was the first granddaughter of the only daughter, and we all got to see a lot of him as a giving grandfather, I thought, from playing checkers and chess with us, and dominoes, really helping us to learn, but we're all pretty competitive, so really being giving in that sense, going to the school next to their house and playing in the playground from a very young age. He tried to teach us tennis. I thought I was right about I could hit it as high as I could. He tried to tell me it was a different way. He just really wanted us to be athletic, and in his own way was always around. Music, he was always present, from Grandma and my mom to everyone that was involved in one way or another. He kept trying to make me saxophone reeds by hand to keep me going with that. He'd always ask about that. And his library was something that I was really privileged to talk with him about, and how much literature really meant to him. And I think that was, for me, an influence to go on and major in that in college. Being younger and teaching me to ride a bike for the first time, a photographer came, and my last name's Gaddis, but they came and he was teaching me, and they took a picture of us and ran a story and put me in there as a Hansberger with my grandfather. And he taught me. I fell a lot, but she got a picture I wasn't falling. And just how he was there every step of the way. The idea of being a Hansberger was something that I think our family's really proud of, and my mom is definitely proud of. When I was 11 and Ellen was 9, she took us to Switzerland, and we'd never been on a plane and traveled very far, didn't know what jet lag was, and literally the first stop we had was in Zurich, finding a distant Hansberger cousin. And they were very, very distant cousins, very, very sophisticated as well, and we went to a very fancy lunch, and maybe half an hour into it, Alan and I both fell asleep, but we really tried to find those fruits way into Switzerland even. And also going to North Dakota. He was actually born in Chaseley, North Dakota, and right before I went to college there, Mom and I drove 200 miles into the middle of the state, literally a whistle-stop town. Maybe 50 people live there now, but we saw the church that was there, zip code for maybe a quarter of a mile for this whole town in the middle of the state. And just kind of getting a sense of who he was beyond the Bellevue house and what we saw growing up. Just for me in the future, what I'll remember about him was before I moved to New York. I know that that's where Grandma and Papa Paul met. She was working at the dentist's office. He was studying there. And he was really happy to see that I would get to see the city that he really loved as well. And just gave an amazing warning to me that people, enjoy the culture, but there'll be 3 things people will want for you, and it's your money, your safety, and your character. And the kind of wisdom he had, I think, was something that, I don't know, something I'm always going to cherish, as well as definitely his wit. The last time I got to actually see him was he had just entered into the hospital and was kind of starting his time away from Grandma. And Alan and I went to see him, and I was talking to him, and her birthday was coming up. And they'd been apart for maybe a week at most. And so I asked him, what are you going to get Grandma for your birthday? And he said, well, I'm sure she'll enjoy my presents. So even to the end, he was pulling puns of either way, that they'd be back together, and that was going to be his gift. And just really